One of the hardest things being a YouTuber is finding the right equipment. Originally, I started this channel with two Canon cameras. I have the Canon XA10 and I have the Canon 70D. And while I didn't spend a ton of money on lens for the Canon 70D, I did rack up 3 lenses that I used regularly. Now, when I made the jump towards Sony, we're talking about 5 years worth of accumulating lens. And although that might not be a lot of time for most YouTubers, for beginners like myself, it's a tough pill to swallow because you did spend money on those Canon lens, and moving over to another ecosystem such as the Sony E-mount, you feel like money's being wasted if you don't sell the lens. I mean, even if I were to sell my lens, I wouldn't get a ton of money for it. You know, they're cheap lens. I didn't really pay that much to begin with. But solutions start with ideas. And so in my head, I was like, you know what? There's got to be a way to use those Canon lens with my Sony ZV-E10. There's just gotta be. I mean, you can find tech solutions for all kinds of problems. So I found it very hard to believe that there is no solution for Canon lovers or ex-Canon lovers use their lens with the Sony E-mount system. And lo and behold, I found the perfect solution. So here are my 3 Canon lens that I have. This is the 70D that I told you about. This is the kit lens that came with the 70D. It's an 18 to 55 millimeter EFS lens with stabilizer and autofocus. It's not the best lens out there, but it got the job done, and I use this lens quite a bit, not just for photography, but also videography. So some videos, earlier videos on my YouTube channel were shot with this lens. But older than this lens is actually this Canon lens. This is a telephoto zoom lens, 75 to 300 millimeters, autofocus, manual focus. It's not an EFS lens, so it's not the quickest autofocus lens. Didn't really use it that much for videos, but for photos, I use this lens quite a bit. But the lens itself, it's not an expensive lens. I picked this up for like 90 bucks back in 2012, used. So yeah, I heard about the nifty 50 and I was like, ooh, bokeh, I gotta get that. And so that's what this lens is. Autofocus sucks on this lens, and it's really zoomed up there. Like, you know, you have to stand pretty far back in order to use this lens, but the bokeh effect is whew, crazy good. Now, despite, you know, me being nostalgia for a lot of these 3 Canon lens, let me just put it out there that they in no way compare to the Sigma lens that I have on this camera. The Sigma 16 millimeter wide angle lens that's on the ZV-E10. This is by far the best lens I have ever had on a camera, period. It's probably the most expensive lens that I have to date, because I actually paid a pretty penny for this lens. So this lens is the most expensive lens I have, but it is by far my favorite lens. You'll be seeing a lot more of this lens in the future, because this is what I plan to use as a dedicated lens to shoot future YouTube videos. But still, if, like, for example, I was doing videography or photos with the ZV-E10 and I needed to zoom in, I wanted to be able to use this lens, and lo and behold, I actually found something on eBay that will do exactly that. This is the 7artisans EF to SE adapter, and the concept is pretty simple. You just slap this onto a Canon lens, and then you will be able to mount it on your Sony E-mount camera. So here, let me show you how it works. This is the nifty 50 right here. I'm going to take off this lens cap right here, and I'm going to remove this safety cap, and then I'm going to take this nifty 50, connect it just like that, and then bam, there you go. I can now mount this on to my ZV-E10, and then when I want to take it off, I just pull the switch, pull it out, there we go, that's done. Now I want to use the telephoto lens. Well, remove the safety cap. Bam! Now I can mount my telephoto lens, Canon lens, on my ZV-E10. Now let me just put it out there. I don't think I'm going to get amazing, you know, videos and photos with these lenses on my ZV-E10. I just wanted to be able to use my telephoto lens and my nifty 50 with the ZV-E10. Not so much the 18 to 55mm, because the ZV-E10 did come with its own kit lens, which is comparable to this 18 to 55, so not too concerned about that. Being able to use this on this, well, now we talking. Make a long story short, it does work exactly how I intended it to work. The only problem that I'm finding is that the autofocus technology on the ZV-E10 is superior to what these lenses can produce, and so often these lenses have a tough time autofocusing. The EFS lens, the 18 to 55mm lens, does not. It actually handles the autofocus on the ZV-E10 pretty nice, but the 75 to 300mm and the 50mm, these lenses struggle with autofocus, so I find it easier and more reliable to just put these in manual focus and focus myself rather than having the camera do it. So that is something to keep in mind. But enough talking. All right, so this is the 75 to 300mm lens. Let me put my gimbal back on. The gimbal is actually doing a pretty good job at stabilizing the ZV-E10 with this lens, but like I said, it's so zoomed in. Let me see if I can get a good angle here. All right, so I set it on the gimbal. I'm gonna walk in frame now. So yeah, the ZV-E10 is roughly about, I would say, about 30 feet away from me. And this is just at 75mm. It's not even at the 300mm mark. It's only at 75, and look how zoomed in it is, being 35 feet away from me. You can see there's nothing really fancy about the image quality. It's not like woo or wow or woo, you know. You're not going to be drooling over using this cheapo telephoto lens with the ZV-E10, but you know, to work in as a pinch, I think it's pretty good. Say hi. Say hi. To keep it as a lens in your bag, I think is pretty cool. And while keeping the camera in its place and just zooming into the full 300mm, this is what it looks like. I'm standing in the same vicinity. I'm still about 30 feet away from the camera, and this is how close up I can get. And this is why I wanted particularly this lens to be able to use it with my ZV-E10. And this is the nifty 50, holding the gimbal as far out as I can. I'm holding it an arm's length away, and you can still see how cropped in it is. I don't know if you can hear the motor in the background because it's struggling to keep me within focus. But it seems to be doing a better job today than it did yesterday. Yesterday it was just, it kept hunting. And today it's actually keeping me within frame. I'm not seeing the eye tracking or the face tracking with the ZV-E10. There's no box lighting up around my eye or anything like that. But I mean, it's doing a pretty decent job keeping me. Oh, there we go. Now I got my face. There we go. So I'm not getting eye detection, but I'm getting face detection. And look at that bokeh. Look at that bokeh effect. Crazy. This is why this was my favorite lens. And that's one reason why I love the Sigma 16 so much, is because the bokeh is similar to this nifty 50. However, I will go on a limb and say that the nifty 50 produces a much more creamier bokeh effect than the Sigma lens. But the Sigma lens, I mean, that bokeh and that image quality and the view, whew, if the Sigma was a chocolate cake, I'd eat it up. And this is just a, you know, if you were to vlog with this lens, this is kind of the quality that you can expect. Lets a lot of light in. It's at f1.8, so it does have a very wide aperture, and you can do some vlogging with this lens. I do see that the rolling shutter is a lot worse with the Canon lens than it is with the Sony lens and the Sigma lens. So do keep that in mind. It is, like, look at that, I'm just slightly panning. That motor is still rattling like crazy because I guess it's struggling to keep everything in frame. That's the fish tank. I'm about 20 feet away from it. So crop is crazy with this lens. But you can get some nice angles with this lens. Nice panning shots like that. Maybe a low rising shot. And this is the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens that came with the Canon camera, the Canon 70D. This lens is actually pretty good. I would say it's probably on the same level as the Sony kit lens that came with the ZV-E10. It's not bad, it's really good. It's at 3.5 and it does let a lot of light in. I do have all the windows open, so that's another reason why it's probably well lit. It looks really good, I like it. ISO is at 200, f 3.5. I'm getting eye tracking because this is an EFS lens. I set the shutter speed 1/50. It looks pretty good, I like it. I like it a lot. Now I'm curious, how does a Sony kit lens compare to something like this? Ooh, way too bright. Just walking around a little bit here. How about we do a forward shot? Autofocus is really good. Rolling shutter is not as bad as with the other lens. Here's the fish tank again. And let's come back around and get these lenses here. Yeah, I kind of dig this lens. And with this adapter, I can now use it with my ZV-E10. But now I'm curious. Let's throw on the ZV-E10 kit lens and see what kind of results we get. All right, so the Sony kit lens, it is actually 16 to 50 instead of 18 to 55. Peanuts, right? But anyway, this is, you know, the quality that you get out of the kit lens that comes with the Sony camera. Now that I'm seeing it right after using the 18 to 55 Canon lens, yeah, it's very similar. Same exact quality, nothing special. I thought I was onto something, but apparently I wasn't. It looks the same. Really good, slight bokeh in the background. Getting eye tracking, face tracking. Yeah. Go around the house here. It's a fish tank. And then to top it off, here are the cameras. And just to show you why this Sigma is my favorite lens, let's pop this one on. Look at that. f1.4 instead of 1.8 like with this nifty 50. And you know, because the aperture opens up so big, you can drop the ISO all the way down to 100, even lower if you wanted to. So zero noise and plenty of image quality. This is why it's my favorite lens. Look at my face being blasted by just the light coming into the house. That's how wide the aperture is. And then look what it does with the background. That's crazy. This lens is awesome. And look at this. I'm holding the lens a hand measurement away. So like, yeah, one hand, that's how far my face is to the camera, and you can still see me in frame. My arm is very comfortable. I'm not stretching it out. I'm not bending the elbow. I'm keeping my elbow nice and straight. The gimbal is right in front of me, and yeah, no problems vlogging. And then when I want to just, you know, go back to shooting, look at that smooth transition. Look at that. Here, the lens. Look at that. God, I love this lens. But anyway, that does it for this video. Hope you found it helpful. If you found it helpful, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you didn't find it helpful, thumbs down work also. And keep in mind, these are just some of the lens that this adapter works with. There are plenty more EFS lens or even EF lens from Canon that works with this adapter. So don't think that you're going to be tied down. You can, you know, if you have like a collection of 15 Canon lens, you can very well use all of those lens with your Sony camera that has an E-mount. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll answer. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Hasta luego, muchachos. Peace.